All right, so welcome to the UX import office hours. And we are gonna go right through the agenda that I have prepared. So first, I'm just gonna talk about let me share my screen actually. Just run through the status real quick. So show the most recent data from the source project. I have to basically start from fresh. So I'm in the process of, or will start soon rather, going through this and double checking that it's acting the way it is and that in fact it's a bug. Next is the breadcrumb link. Am I sharing the right screen? Do you guys see the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, good. Breadcrumb link that's ready for dev. Update drop down component for project and imports. What was this? Why am I blanking? Is this the table? Oh yeah, okay. So
it's a drop down character limit.
Yep. And then next is the change the UX after project is deleted. So I kind of wanted to talk through this really quickly based off of Cassio's response. So just in a nutshell, this is after a project is deleted, you come back to the, not project page, but the project import page, and you still see, oh wait, this is the land on the 404. Is that right?
Basically, it's when you delete the project after import, it's still shown as imported in the list. And when you click to it, it brings you the dead link.
That's right. Yes, thank you. So what Cassio is suggesting is perhaps if a project was deleted from the source, it wouldn't appear on this page at all.
Well, it is not exactly well written, but I understand what Cassio means. I mean, it is not just about disappearing. It will do exactly what you're requesting, and it means that the project will act exactly as it was never imported. So you still have the same UX as if the project was never imported. So no change. Right now you have like a dead link, which is definitely wrong. And this will just tune it like, okay, it seems you're starting from fresh. You will have zero feedback about, well, it was imported and deleted. And this is probably the right thing to do. And this is like entirely, I will answer it in this issue. It is entirely backend change. I mean, when backend will fix this behavior, no frontend changes will be needed.
Okay.
So I have a question. Should we talk about re-import and how that affects this before we make changes?
This does not affect re-import at all, I believe. Because, well, I assume that if I imported something and deleted the result of import, reporting this as starting from fresh is the correct behavior, at least from my point of view.
When you say starting from fresh, do you mean this bottom line here?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know, I'm asking, so I don't know if I have a full opinion yet, but I'm asking, should it say re-import because it was imported before? Like this project in GitHub has been imported before. And if we allow for re-import, it will have the same effect in the end. There will be a green button. The button will just say re-import as opposed to import, but it will give somebody a clue that this has been imported before. The fact that it got deleted or renamed or whatever else we do to it, notwithstanding, like, I don't know if that's important enough.
What I could figure, like I see no further action. Okay, let's assume I see that, okay, this re-import button, but I have no way to guess how project was renamed, where it was moved, and it looks like a dead end to me. So that seems a bit confusing.
Okay, so what is the dead end? So there's no go to project button, right? When it's re-import.
Yeah, I see, okay, I see the list of the projects, and one of the projects says re-import, but it looks exactly the same, and like, that's interesting. That means that this project was ever imported again, and what? Like, I have no idea to figure out if it was deleted, if it was moved somewhere, if something else happened to it.
Yeah, we don't know what happened to it, but we give you a clue that something happened to it, because if you have a list of, so once we get to re-import, this will look different. The go to project link will be re-import button for each one of these. And only the bottom one right now would say import. But let's say you come here and everything is fresh and everything is import. And now I import one and that changes to re-import. I import another one. When that's successful, that will change to re-import, right? That's how re-import will work. When we get to then, let's say we import all of them and they all have re-import on them, or the other way around. I know, like some are imported, some are not. Some say re-import, some don't. Is it more useful to give a clue to the user that this has been imported before? Like, would someone be hurt by it? Like confused by it? Like, what's the downside of giving the extra?
Well, I will be confused if I see if I see three different states in the system, it might, from my point of view, it might probably confuse me even more. I mean, what we speak about three different states of the system, like first state, project was never imported. In that case, I will have like exactly the UX which is shown on the bottom side, like this one. Second state, project was imported, but deleted somewhere, and somewhere it will be exactly as the bottom one, plus the button will say re-import instead of import. And the third one, project was already imported somewhere, and we will somehow communicate, I believe, the last import target. Yes. I assume that we allow user to see where it was imported last time. Currently, it will be shown in this UX on the, I believe Amanda proposed to show it just as a link on the second column to GitLab. Yes, and but I don't know how we will mix the link on this column plus the drop down allowing you to change the target of import, which is another point of discussion. But like this is three different states, and three is for me a bit worse than two.
Okay, I'll buy that. May I suggest that we apply this issue to the future state of where re-import is already happening, so that we can discuss that, because we wouldn't, I think they do touch each other and you could decide one way or the other, and maybe we should play this after re-import is done so that we have some feel for what makes sense.
From the backend change, the backend change which will be required in any way, and it's pretty minor. I mean that it will not lose value when the re-import will be introduced. So it's up to you. Like, there is no strict dependency, and this is not a throw out job when re-import will be introduced. Also, this is like, I have a very easy criteria to understand if it is an easy backend job. If I can do it, it's easy. I mean, on backend.
Right. So what you want to do is query each one of these links, and if they are dead, you will pretend like the import didn't happen, or what is it that you want to
like,
do?
It works a bit other way right now. When I'm requesting the result of we called it real-time changes endpoint, which sounds like, hey, what is the status of all imports are currently in progress? But actually, it returns the status of all imports ever done. And this is what is now the issue. Like right now, it reports, hey, this import is finished, and that's why I draw UI for like go to project, which is wrong. What will be done? It will be we will simply filter on backend the projects when we're retrieving this status, the projects which are deleted. Backend already has this data, it's just one filter query. And that simply will change UX. So I will simply do not see this project as ever imported, at least for now, till re-import was introduced.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I agree that if we're implementing this prior to having re-import, this is the right behavior. Like you should be able to import again once you've deleted. That is clearly
yes. And this is quite low-hanging fruit.
Okay, and then maybe when we get to re-import, then we can just, once everything is settled, we can revisit this again and say, well, does it make sense to give any kind of a clue? Does a third state make sense, or is the third state too much? But we can decide that once we have both these issues implemented.
Yes, because I believe the re-import will be like a big broader discussion. We need to understand how we communicate the last imported point, target, and so on and so on.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I will elaborate on this discussion because like Casa is a bit too strict on about the project will never appear, because from his words, it sounds like once you delete it, you will not be able to re-import again, but I understand what he understands, what he meant originally. I will make double check, making sure that we are on the same page with him.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Next would be allow groups to be migrated as new top level groups. So we have the MVC down, perhaps. Let me just open the issue.
And I have renamed this twice, but I just want to like say what this is about one more time, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as the title, because I'm trying to be as unambiguous as possible, but I feel like whichever way I say it, it takes a paragraph to describe. So this is about allowing groups to be migrated that will then become a new top level group. So they will have no parent once the migration is completed. They will become a parent or a top level group. Does this title actually say that to you? Are we on the same page there? Because I'm not quite sure if, like, the way I read it, does it read it for everybody else?
See, I would, and I'll show you, Ilya, and the designs I started. I would say promote your subgroup to a top level group. Like new top level groups, I don't know. I could be wrong, but like new top level groups. Are we on the same
page as far as what we're trying to do? Like we can talk about the words we use, I guess, but is it at least clear what the feature is that's missing that we want to implement?
It definitely sounds okay for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I just want to make sure we're on the same page as far as what we're doing. And now let's take a look at that.
So here's what we're proposing just for the MVCs. The user can select no parent, and then again, the subgroup is promoted or, then becomes the parent group.
And Ilya, I have asked Amanda to separate the discussion of potential other features that we might find there, such as creation and some of the other interactions, or apply to all into separate issues, because I know that you wanted this in 13.9 when we planned. This was
and it's doable.
13.9, given that right now the UI fails. So like I need an MVC that fixes the failure, and then we will come back and potentially introduce more functionality and more features into it.
Yes, I've already put some weights there, but I will check. I was finishing other stuff. I will today check if this needs additional backend job. In that case, it will be a small, quite small, like I assume weight one task for backend, because from what I saw, it should be already supported on backend. But I need to obviously to double check. I've didn't touch it like in a month or so. Probably we might broke something, but in general I've already put weight there. And yeah, thank you for splitting it, and I assume this will hit current milestone. It's really important.
Okay, cool.
So yeah. Oh yes, okay. And I don't necessarily have to go into concepts for the future iteration. I'll create issues like Harris said and break it out into various
thank you.
Various concepts. And then we're also going to be user testing some of this. And Harris, I don't know if you saw what I tagged you in on Slack, but there is something that's like rapid user testing that we just ask a few questions and we get pretty feedback fairly quickly. So
this is with usertesting.com, right?
Yeah, usertesting.com. So I can find that link and share it with you. Then last thing I have on the agenda is, I kind of talked to Harris about this, but the need for like a latest activity column within the table. And the reason I wrote down a scenario, like let's say that there are 3 people that are in charge of migrating their entire organization. Let's say the first person migrates 600 or whatever groups successfully. The next person that comes in to migrate their own group of groups, because everything's ordered alphabetically, when the second person comes in to migrate their groups, all of a sudden their groups are split into alphabetical order with the user or the first user that came in to migrate their group. So my suggestion is to create or add a latest activity column and have that be sortable. I would say by default that should be the sort, but anyway, what are your thoughts on adding that, or do you think it's even worth it?
So I like the problem we're solving, and we could probably still validate it, but the problem we're solving, which is help multiple people migrate, a lot of projects each. So I think we probably need to think about the solution and see if there are more targeted solutions, because last updated, like if I change something about the group, it will also do a last update, but that will then interfere with the fact that like if we're saying that the last updated means that they will be able to tell which groups were migrated and which groups were not, but then some other change can also change the last updated, that will then break their ability to do this. So maybe a more targeted solution would be to have a column that says migrated, yes or no, or something like that, and be able to filter for that and find that. So a more targeted solution to the problem that that they're having might be something to explore.
Yeah, and I think that having the the tabs that we have been talking about and introducing, like that would be, I think, extremely efficient and help solve like a lot of these kind of weird UX problems if we separate them out. But I don't know where that falls on the timeline.
I know this is a bit off topic of UX office hours, but since Harris mentioned that speaking about helping people to migrate, like big things, I would like to share the very recent experience of using group import. What I'm doing is,
Share your
let
screen.
me, yeah, 1 second. I will need to show it. 1 second. Yeah, here we go. Sorry, I love that. Like, as all software engineers, we have dark themes. So what we have is a very, very deeply nested structure of the groups in GitLab use it for our education. It's a very, very deep nested thing. And what we are trying right now, utilizing the import feature, even without API being available, is to pull it to our test GitLab, local one, to play something, like to mimic the group structure. And what we figured that it was extremely confused, and I've spent like a couple hours to debug it. Like, the import was done not by me, but by another user, which has not complete permissions. I mean, for group active courses, he has access to the group A, group B, but not to the group C. And from his point of view, the active courses group was fully imported. And I originally assumed also this one. So, like, when we have a deeply nested structure of the groups and the person has 0 permissions to some of them, this might be a tricky one. Like, from point of view of one person, the group hierarchy is fully imported. But from other point of view, we do not import an entire group hierarchy for one top level group. So the problem is that if we have somewhere missing permission on some group deep in the tree, it could be very confusing and hard to track what we are really missing.
So I have created an issue that's called a pre-import check report of some sort. So this may be something to add there, and also in the post-import report, which is where we summarize and tell you, hey, we have imported this many groups, this many epics, also errors, like things that didn't import, partial import, like this got partially imported, this data was missing, this broke, this timed out, like, you know, a report of what happened, but also a report of what will happen. In there, we can include fact that there are groups in here that you don't have access to, and they will
no, we can't.
Cannot?
No, we can't, because we are communicating to remote GitLab via API, and via API we can't verify if there is a group there we do not have access, or there is simply no group there. This is intentional security feature. So you can't differentiate, you can't reveal this even on local GitLab.
So there is no way for us to solve it because our security doesn't allow us to give this information to anyone.
No, this will at least help if, like, I really like the idea of post-import report. So at least I will be able to check the report what was imported and to see that, hey, this was not imported, and I can see in the report. That really makes sense to me.
Yeah, but even like if you have ability to show this to someone and say, hey, I'm going to import, and it looks like I'm going to import, 20 groups. And he's like, what do you mean 20 groups? There's 100 groups there.
Yeah.
So I think either report will have a positive message in there, which is these are the things that will import. And then afterwards, these are the things that have imported. And then you will have to like deduce from there if there's something missing. Like we can't tell you if there's something missing, but we'll tell you what is there.
Yes.
And then you can figure out if something is missing. So I think both of those would help catch that, but there's not much we can do apparently if we can't tell anyone there's something there.
I mean, can we even go as far as saying like 20 groups migrated out of 60?
If we can't say out of 60, we do not know.
Oh, okay.
Like we don't know what the total is for that they have no access to. So if they only can see 20, then it's just going to say 20 out of 20. Or if one fails, it's going to say 19 out of 20. But the number 60 is secret. Like they don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually making a note to backend. I'm just not sure where to put it so it will not be lost. At least it is in my to-do list. That we could not in the future, when we allow importing, re-importing groups or importing non-top level groups, we can't trust the import status if it was done by other user. I mean, if something reports like, hey, this top level group was completely imported, it does not mean that we automatically should put like, okay, this was imported sign on any bottom level groups under this one. Like we need to recalculate it again.
Is there such thing as a read-only permission?
Yes, definitely.
So for those, we can still import those as well, right?
Yes, as soon as we can read it, we can import it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, is there like any time when you can see something there, but really not import it? And there isn't really. If you see it, you import it, right?
Well, and I believe we will have this issue on all levels. I mean, I don't remember if we have private epics, but for example, this will be the same. If you do not have access to the epic, and you will already miss it from the import. I need to check if I'm not sure if we have private epics. At least I do not see them.
Maybe what we can do is potentially just put a generic warning in the report that says, you know, any objects that you don't have access to, you know, there may be objects on the other instance that you don't have access that just will not be imported. So, you know, some message to the effect of, hey, there could be things out there. You should probably check if this is all.
And that,
yeah, that makes sense.
And then we can build upon that. But I like that idea.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good catch, because I think we actually did discuss, like, in one of the issues I did write something like, I'm actually okay with people seeing, you know, someone seeing that somebody else has imported, like the fact that someone has imported it, even if you don't know, if you don't have access to the project that it got imported to. So yeah, so it's the other way around. Like if on the destination, you don't have access to it, and you also can't even know who the person is, but you have access on the source, we can tell you this was imported. We just can't tell you where or when, or, you know, like any data, but we can tell you that this was imported. So that is, I think, important for a GitHub importer as well. I think that's where we had the discussion in one of the issues, because the GitHub permissions may be different from your GitLab permissions. So as you can see something on GitHub, and we should be able to tell you that, yep, someone somewhere imported this. We just can't tell you anything about the GitLab side of things, but we can tell you that, you know, this GitHub thing got imported into the instance. And I was okay with that. Like I was okay with that security, you know, it's not a hole, but just kind of a security question. I don't think there's a legitimate, or I haven't heard of legitimate reason to like hide the fact that something you have access to was imported by someone. You just don't know where or how.
Yeah. What happens if, never mind, I just answered my question. All right, well, we're a minute past. Does anyone have any final thoughts? Before we depart? All right, well, I'll have a good rest of the day.
Great chatting with y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.